activity during October 2019. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with the Prime Minister and a number of ministers and senior officials. The meeting dealt with the latest developments of the war on terrorism being waged by Egypt. The President also directed to continue to intensify the supply control on the markets to combat the high cost. During Sisi's meeting with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Communications and Information Technology, they discussed the executive position of the most prominent ongoing national projects in the ICT sector. President Sisi inaugurated Our Heritage exhibition for handicrafts and heritage projects for the governorates. It was organized by the Organization of Small and Medium Enterprises and is one of the largest specialized exhibitions in the field of handicrafts and heritage. President Sisi placed a wreath at the memorial of the martyrs of the armed forces, as well as the graves of the late leaders Anwar al-Sadat and Gamal Abdel Nasser, on the occasion of the 46th anniversary of the glorious October victory. Subsequently, the President held a meeting of the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces and discussed a number of files related to the tasks of the armed forces and their efforts in protecting the pillars of the Egyptian national security. President Sisi met with the Prime Minister and the Chairman of the Suez Canal Authority. The meeting tackled following up the executive position and procedures related to the ongoing projects and development process in the Suez Canal Authority and its affiliates. During his meeting with the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Planning and Administrative Reform and Communications, President Sisi instructed to continue working on economic challenges to ensure the sustainability of the positive results achieved so far. President Sisi received the President of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and discussed ways to enhance cooperation between Egypt and IFAD in the light of Egypt's implementation of several national projects. In the light of Egypt's current presidency of the African Union, the meeting also discussed the role of the fund in helping African countries implement the Agenda of Africa 2063 and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. President Sisi met with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy. The meeting dealt with the follow-up of the strategic projects of the Ministry of Electricity within the framework of strengthening the electricity system in Egypt and modernizing its infrastructure. The President presided over the 7th Tripartite Summit between Egypt, Cyprus, and Greece. The summit dealt with the follow-up of their trilateral cooperation, especially in the field of energy, in addition to the regional situation in the Eastern Mediterranean region, combating terrorism and illegal immigration. President Sisi received the President of the Korean Chamber of Commerce and Industries and a high-level delegation of South Korean investors. During the meeting, the President expressed Egypt's aspiration to work jointly with the Korean side to transfer trade and economic relations to new horizons in order to exploit the promising investment opportunities available in the Egyptian market in various sectors. President Sisi received a U.S. delegation from the Senate and House of Representatives from South Carolina. The meeting dealt with means of boosting bilateral relations in a number of fields. They also discussed a number of regional issues. The President affirmed Egypt's firm policy aiming at preserving the national institutions of the state. President Sisi met with Jordan's King Abdullah al-Thani ibn al-Hussein. The talks dealt with relations between the two countries and current regional developments. During his meeting with the personal envoy of President of the Republic of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, President Sisi received a message from the President inviting Egypt to participate in the opening session of peace negotiations between the delegations of the Sudanese government and the armed movements in Sudan. President Sisi met with the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. The meeting dealt with the follow-up of financial performance indicators during the period from July to September of the current fiscal year 2019-2020, as well as discussing the ongoing efforts to modernize the tax registration system and work on the automation of tax returns. President Sisi witnessed the activities of the 31st Educational Symposium of the Armed Forces, October the unconquerable will and challenge. It was attended by the Prime Minister and a number of ministers and senior officials. Sisi warned against endeavors to underestimate or question the value and worth of the Egyptian army. He stressed that the army means Egyptians, and lacking confidence in army means lacking confidence in ourselves. During his meeting with the president of Toyota Tsusho Company, President Sisi hailed the strong and distinguished Egyptian-Japanese relations. The meeting dealt with the coordination between the company and Egyptian officials to implement its projects in Egypt. President Sisi witnessed the graduation ceremony of the first batch of Faculty of Medicine of the Armed Forces under the name of Field Marshal Mohammed Abdel Ghani Al-Gamasi. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the presidents of the Constitutional and Supreme Courts who participated in the international celebration of the Golden Day of the Egyptian Constitutional Judiciary. During the meeting, the president stressed the importance of public awareness to strengthen the role of law and judicial institutions in order to enable states to effectively address the challenges that threaten their entity. President Sisi met with the Minister of State for Military Production. The meeting dealt with the follow-up of the Ministry of Military Production's efforts to meet the needs of the armed forces for military equipment. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi inspected the military college and attended the examinations for new students applying to join military colleges and institutes. The President directed during the meeting to continue efforts to localize the transport industry in Egypt in cooperation with major international companies. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the heads of the delegations participating in the activities of the second Cairo Water Week. The meeting witnessed an exchange of views between Sisi and the attendees on the various international experiences of water resources development and irrigation. He reviewed the main axes of the Egyptian National Plan in this regard. Sisi receives Kuwaiti Prime Minister Sheikh Jabir al-Mubarak al-Hamad al-Sabah. President Sisi arrived in the Russian city of Sochi to participate in the activities of the first session of the Russian-African Summit and the Joint Economic Cooperation Forum, co-chaired by the Russian President Vladimir Putin and himself. Sisi received the chairman of the Russian automobile industry group JAZ. The meeting discussed Egypt's efforts to develop its activity in the automotive industry and its future prospects. President Sisi met with the Russian President Putin on the sidelines of the Afro-Russian Economic Forum. The two presidents discussed a number of issues related to bilateral relations. They reviewed some regional and international issues. President Sisi participated in the opening session of the forum and delivered a speech in which he said that Africa is entering an important stage in which there are significant positive changes in the opportunities of trade, investment, and entrepreneurship, driven by ambitious young societies and courageous government policies. President Sisi met with the President of South Sudan. He affirmed Egypt's continued support to the government and people of South Sudan and its efforts aiming at achieving a final peaceful political settlement in Juba. The meeting also reviewed aspects of bilateral cooperation. During his meeting with the Chadian President Idriss Déby, President Sisi affirmed Egypt's interest in continuing cooperation with Chad in the field of capacity building through training courses provided by the Egyptian Agency for Partnership for Development for Chadian cadres in various disciplines. President Sisi met with the chairperson of the African Union Commission. The meeting witnessed discussing the development of a number of current issues on the continental arena, such as developments in some hotspots in the African continent and efforts to settle them politically, especially Libya. President Sisi also participated in a dinner banquet hosted by the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Sochi, Russia, in honor of the African presidents participating in the first Summit and Forum Russia-Africa. President Sisi delivered a speech during the opening session of the summit, stressing that the African and Russian people enjoy common cooperation, aspirations, and challenges, pointing out the aspiration of the leaders to realize the desire of the African peoples for peace, security, and peaceful conflict settlement. Sisi and Putin witnessed the signing of two memorandums of cooperation between Russia and the African Union at the conclusion of the Russian-African Summit for the first time in Sochi. The first memorandum of understanding dealt with the principles of cooperation and relations between Russia and the African Union. At the conclusion of the Russia-Africa Summit, a press conference was held during which President Sisi delivered a speech in which he stressed that the summit comes to develop the bonds of relations to promote peace, stability, and sustainable development, noting that the summit reflects the growing level of cooperation between Africa and Russia. During his meeting with the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Planning, Follow-up, Administrative Reform and Finance, President Sisi directed to continue to exert maximum efforts to build on the positive developments in economic indicators, stressing the priority of investments that provide new job opportunities for citizens, especially youth. President Sisi received a number of international dignitaries attending the core group meeting of the Munich Security Conference. The President stressed the importance of strengthening international solidarity to face common security risks and finding radical solutions to the causes of instability, especially in the Middle East. Sisi opened the World Radio Communication Conference organized by the United Nations International Telecommunication Union ITU in Sharm el-Sheikh. He stressed the importance of the World Radio Communication Conference, which reflects the growth and progress of human civilization. President Sisi toured Sharm el-Sheikh on Monday, 29 October 2019, including checkpoints and car inspection at the security stations at the entrance of Sharm el-Sheikh towards the Dahab area. He also inspected the ring road through the Safari Gate and Ruwaysat till the security station in Ras Mohammed Reserve. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the Foreign Minister of the Federal Republic of Germany, Heiko Maas. The meeting witnessed a number of issues related to bilateral relations, especially in the economic, commercial, investment, and security fields. Sisi inspected a Nasr Intermediate Chemicals factory and listened to a detailed explanation of the 250-acre plant and witnessed the opening of two factories affiliate to the company.